It's really kind of funny to me how I got here. I would never consider myself a spiritual seeker in the usual sense. I just had a burning curiosity to know all the answers about why we were born, what we're supposed to do here, and where we go when we die. I just couldn't accept the fact that that could not be known. Many of my friends said it's not possible. You can't know it. It can't be known. But a few people knew. So why not us? So I went off on pursuit of trying to know, and I went everywhere I could think of. I read all the masters. Most of them were dead. I looked for people who were living, and everybody I met living, mostly, for the most part, were only talking about things that they had heard or read, nothing that they experienced. Occasionally I would encounter somebody who seemed to embody something bigger than everybody else, but it didn't seem to have any impact on my life. And then 6 years ago I met Sadhguru, and when I met him, when he walked in the room, I thought, uh-oh. Something real has just walked in. What Sadhguru has to offer the world is a way to transform yourself on an individual level. He has the technology to get you blissful. He also has the technology to open up a lot of the inner understanding that we've been looking for, to personally experience it. Wherever you want to go as a human, I believe this can take you there. It's certainly taking me someplace I had never been before, and my hope is everybody will want to experience this for themselves, because it's an incredible journey.
This is a part of the Nilgiri biosphere. This is believed to be the second oldest mountain ranges in the world. This is the land of tigers, king cobras and elephants.
I heard a huge elephant last night. It sounded enormous.
You did.
Are they dangerous?
They're not really dangerous, but because of their size, they could be dangerous for you.
I was thinking about the animals, Sadhguru. They have their own families, their own social structure. Their life's as important to them as our lives are important to us. What is it about us that makes us think we're so special? Is it just some idea we concocted?
It is not our idea. Of course, human beings have grand ideas about themselves. Apart from that, what really sets us apart is just this. All animals are fulfilled the moment their survival process is taken care of. But the nature of a human being is such that only when survival process is taken care of, his life begins. So, the very privilege of being human is just this, that you're a natural seeker, you can't stop at any point. Because your stomach is full, you can't rest. You have to do many more things, and whatever you do, it's not enough, it leaves you as a continuous seeker. That's what makes a human being special. That's what makes his life into a possibility.
Sadhguru, this looking for something else, this seeking, this is something that's been with me my whole life. And in my case, it's felt more like a curse than a blessing.
Yes, it all depends how one handles this. This is the human predicament right now, that wherever you put them, they want to be something more than who they are right now. And this is the basis of their life. This is the possibility of being human. At the same time, this is also their struggle. See, the moment you're born as a human being, there is a certain problem with you. That is, you constantly want to be something more than who you are right now. Suppose you had come here as any other creature in this forest. Let's say you were born as a tiger, then you wouldn't be thinking how to become a good tiger. If you just got enough food for yourself, you would become a good tiger. A tiger is not thinking and worrying, will I be a good tiger, will I end up as a house cat? There are no such problems for a tiger. But once you come as a human being, just see how many things you have to do, and still you don't know where you stand. This predicament has come into human life because nature has given you the freedom to become whatever you want. For all the animals, their lives are programmed as to what they can be. For you, nature left you unprogrammed so that you can be whatever you want. This is a tremendous possibility. If you handle this with awareness, this is your benediction.
But it seems like never enough.
If you do not handle it with awareness, then it is a curse. So what you make out of it is always individual. Now, when I say this, that this can be a benediction or a curse, right now, what humanity is suffering is their freedom, because he is dealing with his life without the necessary awareness. He is trying to deal with his life just the way other animals deal with their survival. It'll not work for a human being. He needs to come to a different level of awareness because the evolutionary scale is such that, you know, Charles Darwin told you that you were a monkey, not me. When you were a monkey, you did not dream of being a human being. Nature just pushed you on. But once you become human, if you want to evolve from here, it can only happen consciously. Unconscious evolution is over for you. So unless you handle it consciously, this freedom, this liberty that human beings have, that they can make themselves whichever way they want, that could be a great curse. That's what you see around you. That is the basis of all suffering that human beings are going through. Human suffering, where is it manufactured? It is all manufactured in their own minds. I'm not talking about physical suffering. Physical suffering could be caused, but 90% of human suffering is mental, which is caused within ourselves. Why would we cause suffering to ourselves? Obviously, we don't know what we're doing. You know, someone told you, you know not what you're doing. That's very true.
Sadhguru, I understand the confusion about what I want to do with myself, but even when I've had it all work, and I've had it work beautifully, still, it's never enough. So what is that about? Why is it that even if everything goes beautifully, you can't ever settle down with life?
Why don't you settle down now?
Was that all I need?
Let's look at that. Why is it a human being cannot settle down? Many societies, many so-called philosophers and phony wise men have tried to make humanity settle down. They have tried to teach them all kinds of pacifist philosophies, to tell them what you have is more than enough, be content, be settled. But not one human being on the planet has ever been settled. If there's a possibility, he'll explore it. Because the very nature of a human being is such, wherever you are, you want to be something more. If that something more happens, you want to be something more. If that something more happens, something more. So if you look at this, people have misunderstood this as ambition, greed, love, lust for money, property or wealth. No. All that a human being is seeking is expansion. Wherever you are, it feels constricted, you want to be a little more. Whatever you know best, through that you're trying to find this expansion. But essentially you're looking for expansion, not for money, not for love, not for anything. You're looking for a way to have a little larger slice of life than the way you have it right now. But how much ever you have, it's not enough. If I make you the queen of this planet, I won't make such a mistake, I'm just telling you. Even if I make you the queen of this planet, you won't be settled, you will look at the stars. So there is something within you which doesn't like boundaries. There is something within you which is constantly longing to be boundless. Now this longing to be boundless, you are giving it a physical expression, because right now your whole experience of life is limited to the physical, you are giving it a physical expression. Why I'm saying your whole life experience is limited to the physical is, right now your whole experience of life is happening to you only through your five senses, by seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. This is the way you know life. This is the reason when you fall asleep, though the world is on full scale, your body is on, your mind is on, you have no experience of either the world or yourself, simply because the five senses have shut down. And five senses essentially cannot give you access to anything other than the physical. They can only experience the physical. You can see, hear, smell, taste and touch only the physicality of the world. Everything that you know right now is physical. Your body is physical, your mind is physical, the whole world around you is physical. It may be getting subtle, but still physical. Right now the air that we breathe is physical, maybe we can't see it, but it is physical, we know it has physical properties today. So, the physicality, the very nature of the physicality is, it exists within a defined boundary. Without a defined boundary, there is no physicality. Now, this is a physical body. You call this physical only because it has a defined boundary. If there was no boundaries, it wouldn't be physical. But there's something within you which is longing to go beyond all boundaries. That means there is something within you which is non-physical, which is trying to find expression. If you go by your physical nature, then you will see eating, sleeping, reproducing and dying one day is a complete process. But this dimension within you, which is non-physical because it's constantly trying to find expression and you are giving it only a physical means, right now your situation is like this, you want to go to the moon, but you're on a horseback. Someone tells you, get yourself a new whip and you'll make it. I'm telling you, you may kill the horse, but you won't make it. If you want to go to the moon, you have to get into another kind of vehicle, otherwise you won't make it.
But Sadhguru, even if you know, like even if you've tried everything and it's worked, you've tried love, you've tried money, even if it's worked and you know, okay, none of this is it, I need something inner, I need something else, you're still stuck. You don't know what to do, what happens next? So that's why the seeking drives you mad, because you know how to acquire these other things, you don't know how to go anywhere.
It's better to be mad than dead isn't it?
Sort of.
If there is no expansion in your life, if there is no continuous happening in terms of you becoming little more than what you're right now, either by some action or emotion or thought or in some way, if there is no sense of expansion in you, you will feel stagnant and dead. So, right now, I would say restlessness is better than death. But is that the way to live? Definitely not. There is another way that you can come to ease with life. You will come to ease only when you begin to taste that which is beyond the physical. Through the physical, trying to become boundless is like counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and hoping that one day you will say infinite. We cannot handle the boundless through the limitations of the physical. So your perception has to go beyond 5 senses, only then the non-physical enters your life. If your experience of life transcends the limitations of the physicality, then we say you're spiritual. That's what it means to be on the spiritual path. That somewhere, at least for a moment, your experience of life has transcended the limitations of physical.
Sadhguru, the seeking for me, it's been two things. It's been the can't stand not knowing, but it's also the how do I do something with myself? And I wondered from the time I was young, how did there few people do something more with themselves? And then one day Autobiography of a Yogi showed up and it looked like yoga was a way you could actually become something else. So I tried all this yoga. I tried the yoga from Autobiography of a Yogi and I tried Tibetan Buddhism and Vipassana, and for years I tried different practices, and even nothing, I could never make anything really work like it was gonna… in my core I felt like I needed a way in, but nothing really worked until I got here, and suddenly something is catching fire, and I don't understand, what is this? It's something alive now, and it doesn't even seem that different from some of what I've done before, but it's different, it's hugely different, so what is it? And what is it about you? I hear you sit on a rock and, you know, you're enlightened, and I'm banging my head against the wall for 30 years and nothing. So what, you know, do I have bad astrology, the wrong stars? What, you know, what is it? So how'd you do it?
You're asking me, am I the chosen one or something?
Sort of.
Fortunately, no. Sun came up in the morning. Did it choose on whom the sunlight should fall and whom it should not? The breeze is blowing. Does it choose who should benefit from it and who should not. So the way of the existence is such that it doesn't choose. But still, who benefits from the sunlight, who benefits from the breeze, all depends on that individual. Unless you do the right thing, right things will not happen to you. Long time ago, Noah predicted there's going to be a flood. Now Al Gore is doing it. See, I listen to their predictions and see, I'm sitting on a log, I'm safe in case the flood comes. You're sitting in a rock.
I'm stuck again, see? I'm sinking.
That's a choice you have, always. So unless you do the right things will not happen to you. Both of us may say the same things, but what we take out of it is still individual, isn't it? So this is the freedom that a human being has, that he can make every moment of his life a doorway to the beyond, or he can make every moment of his life a barrier and a hurdle and a bondage in his life. So the very yoga that you do can become a bondage if it is not given in its live form. You bending and twisting every day in the morning is quite a bondage unless it is alive. When I say it's alive, I'm talking about subjectivity in the spiritual process that cannot be done in a yoga studio, that cannot be done in uncommitted atmospheres. This is the reason why in this tradition, in this culture, there has been such an emphasis on a live guru, because just teaching a method is not enough. The method has to be alive. Alive means you have to infuse life into it, otherwise it'll not work. When Patanjali gave the Yoga Sutras, the word sutra literally means a thread. Yoga Sutras are the greatest document on life on this planet really, if you look at it that way. But it's a scientific statement, so it doesn't come out as a religious book, it doesn't come out as a scripture, but it is like a scientific statement, series of formulae, that's what it is. So he gave it in the form of sutras. Sutra means a thread. Now, you wear a garland, there is a thread inside, but you never wear this for the sake of the thread. You wear this for the sake of the fragrant flower that the thread binds. He gave you only the thread. You're supposed to make a garland out of it. You need a being who knows his own interiority to make a garland out of it. If you just wear the thread,
You're threadbare.
you're threadbare. You can add flowers to it, you can add pearls to it, you can add diamonds to it. That depends on what you have within you.
And it's almost like there's life that's been
There is
breathed
life.
into this.
Yes, there is life in it. Yoga is the science and technology which allows this human mechanism to function at its ultimate possibility. To use this mechanism as a stepping stone to go beyond the limitations of the physical, to know life in its full depth and potential. So, it has to be transmitted, not taught. It has to be transmitted as a live process. If it is taught, the same things are taught as an instruction or a bundle of instructions, it doesn't work that way. So that difference, I think you have experienced in the last few years.
Sadhguru, so what happened to me when I came here? I was on 4 prescription medications, 1 for insomnia, 1 for hyperthyroidism. I couldn't walk across the room without all the blood rushing out and feeling like I was going to faint. And then I met you, I do these practices, and in 3 months, all the prescriptions drop, and I go back to the doctor.
I thought I told you 3 months is enough to get you out of that mess.
You did tell me 3 months, but I didn't believe that 3 months could really do it. And even without believing it, doing the practice, 3 months still, it was almost like a miracle that suddenly I don't need the prescription drugs to sleep. I go to the doctor and he does my blood work. He's got me on this thyroid medicine to keep my blood pressure from being too low. It was a high risk for heart attack, and he gets my blood and it's normal. And he's not a New Age crystal gazing doctor. He's a, hardcore endocrinologist, very well respected. And he comes in with my blood work and says, "This is astonishing. This is astonishing. This is astonishing. I've never had anybody as hyperthyroid as you were get this well this quick." And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing this yoga." And he said, "I should do it." I said, "Yes, you should do it."
Yes, he should.
But I tried everything else before to straighten all these things out, and nothing worked. And I didn't come here for my health, but yet my health in 3 months, it just got completely normal. So I couldn't sit cross-legged. 5 years later, I can, it's like I'm younger than I was 5 years ago. So.
How old are you, Cheryl?
Too old. You're not supposed to ask
Don't
a
tell
woman
me,
how
don't
old she is.
tell me. So is this a miracle? There are two ways of looking at life. You can look at every piece of creation. If you carefully look at it, if you logically look at everything, with all this science and technology that we have explored, we still don't know how a single leaf in this forest works. You search the whole forest, find 2 leaves exactly the same way, you will not. They're different. So, just everything is a miracle. How the soil is becoming a plant, plant is becoming a tree is becoming a flower, flower is becoming a fruit, fruit is becoming a human being. Isn't this a miracle?
Yes.
Is there anything that's not a miracle around here? Everything is a miracle, isn't it? That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is, nothing is a miracle. Everything in the physical existence is happening between cause and effect. People have become short-sighted, they are unable to see the cause, they only see the effect. They either enjoy or suffer the effect, they are unable to see the cause. But without a cause, can there be an effect? For everything that you see, there is a cause. So the process of creation is happening not haphazardly, it is happening between cause and effect. If your involvement is limited, if your perception is limited only to the effects of life, then you live like any other creature on this planet, being thrown around by the process of life, not understanding, not being able to manage your life the way you want it. But if your perception is deepened to see the cause, then you can create your life the way you want it. Right now, what did you have for breakfast?
A dosa.
A dosa. A dosa is like a pancake. So look at this, you ate this dosa in the morning and over the morning it is becoming a human being, isn't it? Isn't the dosa being converted into a human being? What you call as my body is just an accumulation of that, isn't it? Even if you eat a banana, it becomes a human being. If you eat anything, if you eat a chicken, it becomes a human being. According to Charles Darwin, tell me, how long does it take for a chicken to become a human being? I don't know how many million years he would say, but now over the morning or afternoon, you're managing to do that. So this miracle that if you put a banana, it turns into a human being, this miracle is possible within you because the very source of creation is functioning from within you. Your body did not get created from outside, it is happening from within. The manufacturer of this body is inside, not outside. You may be providing raw material, but the manufacturer is inside. So if you have a repair job to be done on your body, would you go to the manufacturer or to the local mechanic?
But this source of creation's been there the whole time, right?
Yes, but I'm asking you, would you go to the manufacturer or to the local mechanic?
Definitely the manufacturer.
Yes, but why didn't you go? Because you lost access.
I didn't know how to go.
You lost access. If you had access to the manufacturer…
But lost? Did you ever have it to begin with? Was it lost or is it actually lost or never known?
See, you know it's happening, right?
You know something's happening.
It is happening. Whatever you eat, whether you eat a piece of bread…
Yes, I know
or
that
a
much.
banana or a dosa, it
Right.
is being converted
Yes.
into human body.
Yes.
So, the manufacturer is busy working, but you ignored him because you're too busy with what's happening around you. You ignored him so much that it looks like he's absent. But if he was absent, would this happen?
No.
So, Yoga essentially means this, that is, from being just a piece of creation, you move to become the creator. If you live on the surface, you just live as a piece of creation. If you go to the core, you are the very creator himself. So this is a choice you have. Either you exist here just as a piece of creation, pushed and pulled by the forces of life, or you exist here as the creator, creating your own destiny, making your life happen. So, what was diagnosed as a disease that you have to live with for the rest of your life is gone in 3 months. Is it a miracle? No, it's not a miracle. It's just a little deeper understanding of life. You learn to do things the right way.
But it wasn't on the level of my mind that this fixed.
No, it is not on the level of your mind at all. It's not on the level of your mind. When you say my mind, my body, obviously there's something more than your mind and body, right? There's something called as me. What is that me? Where is it? Do you know?
Not really.
So you don't know where you are, so how to fix yourself? So yoga is just like a GPS system trying to locate you where you really are.
So this source of creation, it really is something that can be known?
People are trying to know the very cosmos. They're sending spaceships all over the place trying to know. But what's happening with that way of doing things is, see, 1,000 years ago, if you looked up at the sky in the night, you would have seen maybe once I counted, I don't know how many you counted. When I was young, I sat down and counted and counted and counted how many stars in the sky. I went up once to 1,700 from one segment and I couldn't count the rest, so I segmented the rest and I assumed maybe about 7,000 to 8,000 stars in the sky that we can see. But people say through the naked eye you can see somewhere between 12,000 to 15,000 stars. I haven't seen them, but they say haven't counted them at least. So we thought there are about 10,000 to 15,000 stars. So we wanted to have a closer look at them and we made all kinds of powerful telescopes. So what's happened to us now is, now we know there are over 2 billion stars. Tell me, is the world getting more mysterious or less?
Both.
With all this exploration, it should have brought clarity, but all it's brought is much more confusion than ever before, because you're trying to know the existence from the outside. If you turn inward, beyond your sense perception, if you turn inward, then the very process of creation is happening within you. Everything is happening within you, that this body is being created all the time. So if you know this mechanism, if you know this piece of life absolutely, that's all I know. I have not read any scriptures either of the East or the West. All I know is, I know this piece of life from its beginning to its ultimate. If you know this piece of life, you know almost everything that's worth knowing, because the way this piece of life is made, that is the way the whole cosmos is made. This is just a miniature version. If you know this, which is easy to know,
Not
because…
so easy, not so easy.
When you say it's not so easy, it is because you're trying to know the nature of life, but you want to dissect a frog, a cockroach, any animal that you see, you will not know it that way. You are life, aren't you? Are you life? You'll say, no, I'm a woman, I'm an American, I'm this. No, you're not all that, you are just a piece of life. All that is incidental. The essential thing is you're a piece of life. If you want to know life, do you have to dissect a frog or do you have to look inward? Which is a better way?
Inward.
Which is a more intimate view of life?
But it's not so easy after your attention's gone out so far to all of a sudden try to look in. You don't know what you're doing trying to look in.
That's simply because right now your perception is completely limited to the sense perception. Sense organs are essentially outward bound. You can see what is outside. You can't roll your eyeballs and scan yourself. You can hear this, but you can't hear all the activity that's happening within you. If an ant crawls upon your hand, you can feel it, but so much blood flowing within you, can you feel it? No. So essentially, sense organs are outward bound. You cannot use them to turn inward. Sense organs turned on the moment you were born because they're instruments of survival. If survival is all you're seeking, then sense organs are sufficient instruments. But now you're longing to know something beyond the physical. You're longing to know the very nature of your life. You're longing to know the very origin of your life. Now sense perception is not good enough. There are other dimensions of perception which have not been turned on within you because they are not instruments of survival. They don't get turned on with birth. You have to strive, you have to consciously pay some attention to them, otherwise they don't get turned on. So with the simple yoga that you're doing, that's all we did with you. Turn on other dimension of perception, suddenly you have access to the source of creation within you, and in 3 months your disease is gone. It's not a miracle. It is just a deeper understanding of life and a more profound way of living, that's all.
Sadhguru, I'm kind of confused. Lots of times I want to make something happen and I do everything I can and I don't take no for an answer and it happens. Other times I do everything I can and it still won't happen. So are there things bigger than me at control, or is it still me doing it, or how does it actually work?
Whenever things don't happen the way you want them to happen, there is a temptation to think and name it as destiny. Because this is a way of dealing with failure. This is not destiny, this is just cheap psychiatry. You're trying to solace yourself to your present condition. If you want to make any situation the way you want it, outside situation, there are a million different ingredients here. Not all of them are you even aware of. Today, science can prove this to you beyond any doubt. The way you're perceiving life right now through your sense organs, it is only enough for your survival. It is not enough to master your destiny. Today, modern physics and the neurosciences clearly telling you that whatever you're perceiving through 5 senses are not the way it really is. Here, sun is just setting. For your eyes, it is just going to be dark in a few minutes. But there is a whole host of creatures in this forest. For them, the day begins. So what's light for you is darkness for them. What is darkness for you? Do you hear them waking up? They're saying good morning.
Getting started.
So what is darkness for you is light for them. So, sense organs are sufficient instruments for survival only. With that, you don't master your destiny. Because if you want to create a situation the way you want it, you have to have some mastery over your life energies. Because ultimately, the whole existence is energy. You can never logically figure out every aspect of life around you.
But a lot's happening out of our mind. We want to go on this course, we set it, and our mind takes us there, right? I mean, it starts with that.
I already told you, if you have mastery over your mind, 50 to 60% of your life will be in your controls, 50 to 60% of your destiny will be decided by you, and that's all. Still there's another 40% that you don't like.
Okay, but when you said, okay, what you were doing with these practices was introducing you to the Creator basically inside yourself, but it doesn't… that's not clear. You do the practices, suddenly your health straightens out, you're not clear you're making this introduction. I mean, it's still hard to understand what's happening.
See, whatever situations you're living in, you need to understand, to be human means that you can mold the situations the way you want it. You are not molded by the situations, you are molding the situations the way you want it. But today, most people in the world are molded by the situations in which they exist. That is simply because they're existing in reaction to the situations where they were placed. So their question will be, why was I placed in such a situation, first of all?
That's the first question.
Yes. Is it my bad luck? Is it my destiny that I was born to such parents? Is it my destiny that I am born in such a country or this part of the world or that part of the world? Everything that you know as myself today is just an accumulation of impressions and physical body. What you accumulate can be yours, can never be you, isn't it? So what is you is yet to be introduced to you it is yet to come into experience, it is in an unconscious state. You're only conscious of small parts of your accumulation. You're not even 100% conscious of what you have accumulated. So you are trying to live your life through your accumulations. You're trying to live your life through what you have gathered, not through who you are. Now, because of the type of accumulations you have developed certain tendencies, so naturally you move in certain directions. Today, science has proved to us, beyond any doubt, that the whole existence is same energy. The air and the water are actually same energy, yes?
Yes.
H and O are here. When they gather together in the right proportion, H2O,
Right.
This is it.
Right.
Very different, isn't it?
Yes.
Look at the water body, look at the air, very different. Here you can breathe, there you cannot breathe, you'll drown So now water has certain tendencies. Right now, people believe and eulogize this usually, that the river's destiny is ocean. River's destiny is not ocean, river has no destiny. Because water, because it's H2O, because of a certain gathering, it has acquired a certain tendency. So it is always trying to find its own level. Because of that, it's moving in a certain direction. Here we are, this river or this bunch of streams have been dammed. Do you think the water which is dammed here and is right here right now is screaming, I want to go to the ocean?
Probably not.
It is not screaming that it wants to go to the ocean, it has no idea what is the ocean, it is not longing to go to the ocean. But if you open up the dam, naturally it may go. That is because of the tendencies of the water. Similarly, you have acquired certain tendencies depending upon what you have gathered within yourself, what type of impressions you have gathered, accordingly you have gathered tendencies. It is not that this cannot be changed. This water is trying to go to the river, always flowing downward, isn't it? If evaporation happens, suddenly the water moves upward. Isn't it defying the law?
So we can change…
Similarly, whatever your current tendencies are, if you do certain things with yourself, you can completely change that. In 24 hours' time, you can completely rewire yourself. irrespective of your past experience of life.
Completely.
Your genetics,
Completely.
your DNA, yes.
In
Irrespective
24
of who
hours
your parents were, where you were born, where you grew up, irrespective of all that, you can completely rewire yourself in 24 hours' time. I can show you any number of people who have become like that, totally transformed. That's what we mean by transformation. We're not talking about change, we're talking about transformation. So, what's wrong with the way I am? Nothing wrong. If you ask me, what's wrong in being limited? Nothing wrong. It's just limited, that's all.
I'm not asking that.
100 years ago, whatever they believed as their destiny, many of those things, we have taken them into our hands, isn't it today? Varieties of diseases, infections, deaths. All these things we believed were destiny. If 1 million people died of Black Plague, we thought it's their destiny, it's God's will, isn't it? They even told you, your marriages were made in heaven. You don't believe that anymore, do you?
Maybe once.
So, so many things you believed because that's what they told you, but many things that you thought was really destiny, out of control, determined by God or somebody else up there, today all those things are in your hands because we have taken charge of a few things. So what we call as technology today is just this, that within the laws of nature, everything that could be taken charge of, someday we will take charge of it on the outside. So when I say inner technology or inner engineering, that's all I'm saying. Everything that this life is naturally happening to a certain law. If you understand, if you perceive and if you know what is the nature of life within you, you can take charge of it completely the way it happens. If you take charge of your life completely the way it happens, your physical body, your mind, your emotion and the life energies, if you take charge of it, then would you let any unpleasantness happen to you?
Never.
Unpleasantness is happening to you in the form of anger, fear, anxiety, stress, because your basic faculties like body, mind, energy, emotion, nothing takes instructions from you. They're doing their own things, as if they don't belong to you. They must be doing… Your mind and your body is here to serve the life within you. But right now, the life within you is enslaved to your mind and your body. This is a complete distortion of life, the way it should function. You're trying to handle life topsy-turvy, upside down. So no wonder so many things are out of control. Even if things are in control, you're still anxious.
Sadhguru, why is it running on its own, the mind, and… I mean, where did all this… how did I start it, or how did it get started?
Every moment of your life, whether you're awake or asleep, moments of sleep and moments of wakefulness, everything that comes in contact with your five senses is recorded within you on many different levels. On the level of your mind, on the level of your body, on the level of your chemistry, on the level of your very energies, it is recorded. These are the backup systems so that you don't lose your software. This software is what traditionally people are referring to as karma. Karma means a certain accumulated mass of information which has now formed its own tendencies. Here in the East, in India, we refer to these tendencies as vasanas. What vasana means is… literally means smell. So what kind of garbage you have in your head, that's a kind of smell. Accordingly, things happen to you, that's the kind of life you attract towards yourself, that is the direction in which you go. So, this is accumulated impressions.
So
it is a software that you wrote for yourself unconsciously. Whatever you can do unconsciously, you can also do it consciously, isn't it? So if you start writing a conscious software for yourself, definitely you would write a software of blissfulness and of liberation, not of bondage and misery. You would not cause any kind of misery to yourself consciously. So, essentially the problem is just that you're unconscious of many aspects of life within yourself. You're trying to conduct your life without understanding how this human mechanism functions, what it is about. It is just like you got into your car, you don't know what these three pedals are. In America you have only two, yeah? Okay. You don't know what these two pedals are. Whenever you feel like it, you kick any one of them. You know what a jerky driver you will be?
Terrible.
Right now, isn't your well-being that jerky?
Sort of.
It is, isn't it? You went outside, someone told you, you're the most wonderful person on this planet.
You feel happy.
You were floating on cloud, what number?
9 at least.
Only 9? In India, we do it on the 11th one. So you came floating on that cloud, you came home and people at home told you who you really are and it crashes. So your well-being is so fragile. Your sense of happiness, your peacefulness, everything is so fragile. People say, if you sit next to a still lake, you will become peaceful. The still lake doesn't know what is peace, I want you to know this. Peace, or there's too much talk about peace, is a concoction of disturbed minds. Too many disturbed minds, so they're making up this whole business of peace. You don't have to do anything to be peaceful. If you don't mess yourself, you are peaceful. How else to be? I don't know how else to be.
You haven't got yourself all stressed out.
So now, if the still lake is giving you peace, so all I have to do is take a pebble and throw it into the lake and you're finished. How fragile it is. Now you make yourself in such a way, if you sit here, if the lake doesn't know peace, the lake should become peaceful because of your presence, because these are all inanimate objects. But here, the very source of creation is becoming conscious. I'm not saying it is not there, it is there also, but in a different form. Here it is much more possible to access. Once you have access of that, your presence settles everything around you. What is around you doesn't settle you. Right now, if they want peace, they go to the top of the mountain, a lake or an ocean. No, wherever you go, that whole place should become peaceful. We have sayings like this in India, if one being gets enlightened, the whole world will experience peace. When God… there are poetic ways of expression. When certain yogis got enlightened and they walked through the forest, the trees bloomed out of season.
So does it, one enlightened being affects the whole creation in a positive way?
Definitely he does. Definitely he does. If you have a small percentage of them, the world would change dramatically. That's what we're trying to create. That's what we're working for, to create at least a small percentage of them. If you create a small percentage of beings who are totally in charge of the life process within themselves, their very reverberation that they create, they can bring peace to the world. At the same time, I'm not talking about peace in terms of war and peace. Even if there is no war, there is no peace in human mind.
It can create all kinds of chaos.
Yes, there is a war being waged upon yourself, within yourself, isn't it?
Regularly.
If that is taken off, there is peace. If there is no violence in you, the possibility of violence on the planet is remote, isn't it?
Definitely.
We are always trying to fix the world. Our ideas of revolution is always about fixing the world. We have fixed the world substantially. If you fix it anymore, there'll be no world left. That far we have gone. However much you fix the world, still human beings are not happy because we have not done anything about fixing the interiority. There is no universal salvation without individual salvation. There is no universal transformation without individual transformation. If you, me and one more person are transformed, a small piece of the world is transformed. This is the only way it can happen. It cannot happen from somewhere else. It can only happen from within. So when we talk about spiritual processes, we are not talking about going to temple, mosque or church. We are not talking about looking up or looking down or looking around. We are talking about looking inward, which is a completely different dimension. All your life you looked outward. Look at the irony of it right now. Let me tell you something. This moment you're sitting here, do you see me? Where am I?
Right here.
Where?
Right here.
Here, not true. This light is falling upon me, reflecting, going through your lenses, inverted image in the retina, you know the whole story. So where am I right now?
Right here.
Yes. So you see me inside of yourself. Where do you hear me?
Inside of
Inside
myself.
of yourself. Where are the mountains? Where
Yes,
are the
I'm
mountains?
seeing them inside of
Inside of
myself.
yourself. Where is the lake?
So that's like
inside
some-
of yourself.
this is like some
So,
hologram?
have you seen anything outside of yourself?
I guess not.
You have not. Your whole perception has always been within yourself. But now the problem is, your sense organs are outward bound. So your sense organs never give you access to the internal, but your whole experience of life is internal. This is the struggle. This is the reason why people are not in charge of their lives. This is the reason why people think their lives are being run from somewhere else.
But for me, for 30 years, I've known I wanted to go inward and I've had no luck.
Nobody ever does it by luck.
Well, even with effort, it didn't work.
Let me tell you a joke. You know, our center in Michigan, if you go there in winter, one of the sport for people is ice fishing because the Great Lakes freeze and people go cut a hole in the ice and do fishing. So on a certain day, an old-timer went ice fishing in the peak winter time, just around Detroit. So he cut a small hole, sat down, put his line and sat down there with a crate of beer next to him because fishing is a patience game. So he waited the whole day. The beer cans got emptier and emptier, he got little dizzy, but no fish. Went morning 10 o'clock, already 4 in the evening, still not a single fish. But it doesn't matter, fishing is not about fishing. Fishing is about killing time and drinking beer. But then at 4 in the evening, a boy from downtown area with a huge boombox on his shoulder, blaring rap music, came jiving like that and came, sat down close to the old man, somewhere little away, at a little distance from the old man, cut a hole, sat down for fishing. He put his line. The old man looked at him. No fool like a young fool. Both of us agree. I've been sitting here the whole day quietly and I have not caught a single fish. And the fool comes with blaring music and he hopes to catch fish. And he ignored him and focused on his fishing. To his amazement, within 10 minutes, the boy caught a huge trout. He landed a huge trout and it went into his basket. He couldn't believe this. He looked at him. Then he thought, ha, flash in the pan.
Luck.
Ignored it and focused on his fishing. But in another 10 minutes, the boy landed one more trout. Now he could not ignore him. This is not luck. He just sat there looking at the boy. The music was blaring, the boy was jiving, sitting down, and in another 10 minutes he landed one more trout. Now, he kept his he kept his pride aside and slowly walked down to him and asked, I've been sitting here the whole day and not a single fish. In 30 minutes you have 3 wonderful trout in your basket. What is this? What is the secret? The boy lowered the music and said, roo-ra, 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 ra, rough. Said, what? The boy repeated, roo-ra, 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 ra, rough. The old man said, I don't understand what you're talking about. Then the boy spat out a blob of something into his hands and said, you have to keep the worms warm.
Oh.
You got to do it the right way, otherwise it won't happen. So you sitting there the whole day, that's not the point. You have to do the right thing, otherwise life doesn't work. It doesn't matter who you are, life doesn't work for you unless you do the right things. Always people who believe that they're good people are always wondering why it's not working for them and why it's working for someone else. Whoever does the right thing, for him it works. Their existence is not judgmental. So you're a good person. So, even if you don't water the tree, will it grow? You're a bad person. If you take care of the tree, will it grow? So good, bad, all these things are in your head. These judgments are essentially human and socially conditioned. In every society, they have their own idea of what is good and bad. But the existence is treating all of us the same way. Whoever is receptive right now, he gets the bounty of life. So the whole aspect of yoga is to make you receptive.
What does that mean, though?
When I say receptive,
What does it mean?
what is being receptive? I don't know how many years ago you heard of Isaac Newton. He saw an apple falling down. And that's a great observation. I'm sure every village boy knew that apples fall only down. Anyway, he noticed it and the law of gravity was propounded. The apple fell down, that's true. He noticed that, wonderful. But he did not notice the whole big tree has grown up against the gravity. You never noticed that?
True.
Isn't it?
True.
The rain is falling down,
Right.
that's fine.
Right.
But how did the cloud get up there first? So, there is gravity and there is grace. You are only available to gravity as long as your experience of life is limited to the physicality of who you are. If your experience of life transcends the limitations of the physical, then you become available to grace. Suddenly you function like magic. Other people think you're magic, but you know, you're beginning to access and become available and become receptive to a different dimension of life. And for everybody it is wide open right now. Nobody is better equipped than another person. When it comes to outside realities, all of us are differently capable. What you can do, somebody else cannot do, what someone else can do, you cannot do, this is how it is. But when it comes to inner possibilities, all of us, every one of us, every human being is equally capable. You are not any less capable than a Buddha or a Jesus or anybody for that matter. Now you are looking at me in a certain awe because of the way I live. You are not less capable than me when it comes to inner realities. When it comes to the outside, we are differently capable. For sure you can't drive like me.
For sure.
But you could meditate like me, nothing to stop you. You can be joyful like me, you can be blissful like me, nothing to stop you. But outside physical capabilities are different, they're acquired. But inner capabilities, all of us have to the same extent. Unfortunately, never explored, never accessed.
Sadhguru, you said the reason my health straightened itself out was you introduced me to the manufacturer or the source of creation itself. And yet this is still not something that's in my experience. Is this eventually something that will become in my experience? Is the source of creation something I'll actually be able to know for myself?
Right now you're mostly, not totally, but mostly enjoying only the effects of being introduced to the source of creation. If you have to know it totally, what is it that's limiting us? Let's understand this. See, right now this water, you don't experience this water as yourself. But over 70% of your body is actually water. So, in your life, the most important water body is your own body. So, this water that is within you right now was outside somewhere. Right now, it's inside of you, so you experience it as myself, isn't it? So what is it that you call as myself right now is anything which is within the boundaries of your sensation, you call it myself. Now if you touch the water, that's not you, but if you drink it, it becomes you. So all that's happened is the water entered the boundaries of your sensation. So whatever is within the boundaries of your sensation is you. What is outside of your boundaries of your sensation is not you. This is your experience of life. This could have happened to you many times, it could have happened to everybody at some point in their life. When you're extremely happy, have you ever been so happy that tears came to you? If you've been happy or ecstatic in some way, if you just place your hands about 6 to 8 inches above your body, over your body, you will feel sensations right here as if the body is extended itself. Whenever your life energies become exuberant, you will see the sensory body expands. If you have not had such wonderful experiences, then I have to do something horrible to you.
This much I've experienced.
If I cut your leg, even if your physical leg goes away, still the sensory leg will be intact, it's a medical fact today. Still the pain and sensations will still be there, even after the physical leg is gone. So the sensory body has an existence of its own, beyond the physical body. So the whole science of yoga is just about this. The word yoga means everything has become one. Yoga means everything has become one in your experience. How can everything become one in your experience? Modern science proves to you that the whole existence is one energy, but you don't experience it that way. Religions of the world have been screaming for a long time that God is everywhere. You don't experience it that way. So when we say yoga, that means we are not willing to settle down for scientific deductions or religious beliefs. Deductions and belief systems are not good enough for you, you want to know it. That is the problem of a seeker, he wants to know it. If you make your life energies phenomenally exuberant, you will see this sensory body can become as large as the existence itself. You will experience the whole existence as a part of yourself. That is when we say you are in yoga. Yoga does not mean standing on your head, holding your breath or twisting yourself out, no. Yoga simply means use whatever method you want to use. There's every kind of yoga. There is no activity in the world, there is no activity that human beings can perform which is not yoga. If it is done with the right sense, it will become your yoga. Because anything that leads to inclusiveness, anything that leads to help you to experience life in a larger way than the way it is, which is a longing of every human being. So if you want to have a larger slice of life, the best way is to include everything as a part of yourself. If you have for a moment included something as a part of yourself, it has always been a big experience. For most people, love is the biggest experience they have in their life because it's a moment of inclusion. On the level of their emotion, they include it. That's what made them feel that it's such a profound experience for them. It could have happened in so many different ways. If it finds a pure, basic physical expression, then we call that sexuality. If it finds an emotional expression, we call this love, this longing to include. If it finds a mental, psychological expression, generally in the society, it gets labeled as ambition, conquest. If it finds a conscious expression, then we call it yoga. So yoga is not different from what you're doing with your life already. Already with your life, you're trying to include more and more. But if you go by physical means, it'll only lead to conquest and conflict. So yoga means you sit here and the whole existence becomes you, not even yours, it becomes you. See, right now, what you're experiencing as myself are the things that you have gathered, isn't it? This physical body is something that you accumulated through the food that you ate. What you call as my mind is an accumulation of impressions. So what you have gathered, you're experiencing as myself. If you gather the whole existence into yourself by expanding the sensory body, then everything is yourself. Is this possible? Is this some kind of a thing for people, somebody who is living in the Himalayan cave? No. Wherever you are, it is possible within you if you keep your life energies exuberant enough. When I say exuberant enough, by doing the Shambhavi Mahamudra and other Isha Yoga practices, there have been moments in your life when you have felt something within you which is not physical, which is not of the body, which is not of the mind, another dimension which reverberated within you, which is far bigger than the mind or the body.
But it's a fleeting experience.
So it is just a peep. It is just a peep at the creation, or it is just a peep at the source of creation. Now you want it to be a continuous experience. If you can have a peek into something for a moment, is it difficult to open the door and look at it all the time? It is just a question of inclination and ability to hold yourself there, isn't it? So is that possible? It is possible for every human being. Every human being is equally capable of knowing the source of his existence, of knowing the nature of his existence. When it comes to outside realities, all of us may not be equally capable. When it comes to inside realities, you are as capable as I am. It has not happened because your attention is somewhere else. So does it mean to say, I have to change my whole life? No. What you do with the outside is one thing. What you do with the inside is totally different. That's why people ask me, how much of yoga should I do? I say 24 hours. You shouldn't do anything other than yoga. You should make your, running your family into yoga, going to your office into yoga, your business into yoga, your very process of breathing and every step that you take into yoga. It is not about doing something, one particular practice which is yoga. You make every aspect of your life as a stepping stone for a higher possibility. That is the essence of Isha Yoga. That is what is produce the results for you. It is not about doing a particular practice. It is just that you're beginning to use every aspect of your life as a process of growth, not as a process of entanglement. That is the essence of yoga. So, if you use your intelligence to reach towards your ultimate nature, here we call this Jnana Yoga, yoga of intelligence. If you use your emotion to reach towards your ultimate nature, we call this Bhakti Yoga, yoga of devotion and love. If you use your physical body to reach towards your ultimate nature, we call this Karma Yoga, yoga of action. If you transform your inner energies and try to reach towards your ultimate nature, we call that Kriya Yoga, yoga of transforming energies. These are the only four things you can do. It doesn't matter which religion you are, what philosophies you're following, these are the only four things you can do. You can either use your body or your mind or your emotion or your energies, there's nothing else you can use. So the problem right now is, people are trying to do any one of them. I must tell you this story. This is a wonderful story from the yogic lore. On a certain day, 4 men were walking in this forest. One of them is a Jnana Yogi, one who takes the intelligence path. Another is a Bhakti Yogi, one who is a devotee. Another is a Karma Yogi, a man of action. Another is a Kriya Yogi, who transforms his inner energies. They cannot be together usually, because they can never be together. They don't agree with anything. But today they were walking together. Why I'm saying they cannot agree with anything is, a man of intellect, one who uses and employs his intellect excessively, who thinks logically, for him, a devotee looks utterly stupid. Utterly stupid. Somebody who is trying to walk looking up at the God that he believes in sounds very, very stupid. He cannot get along with him. A devotee has pity for the man of intellect. Because when God is here, instead of holding his hand and walking, what is all this hair splitting he is doing? Such a waste of life.
He's having more fun.
A man of action thinks all these philosophies are just a concoction of lazy people. Because if you want something to happen, you gotta do it. Just do it, you know. If you want really something to happen, you have to do it. So, man of action has total disdain for other people. A Kriya Yogi, one who transforms his energies, has a certain mastery over his energies, he has absolute disdain for all these three people, because after all, the whole existence is energy. If you do not transform your energy, where do you go? You can't go anywhere. Because of these attitudes, these four people cannot get together, but today they were walking together and suddenly a rainstorm broke loose. Rain and winds severely happening, so they started running looking for a shelter, and they found an old temple. The temple was in a dilapidated condition. All the walls had collapsed, only 4 columns were standing and a roof and a deity in the center. So these people ran into the temple, not in love for God, just escaping the storm. So they ran in, then the rain started lashing from every direction and there was no place to stand there, so they got closer and closer. Then there is no other way to escape the rain, they just hugged the deity and sat down, all 4 of them. God appeared. Then, in all their minds, the same question, why now? We did so much worship, so much yoga, so many things. You didn't come then, why now? Then God said, at last you 4 idiots got together. That's all that happened with you. You understand? Your mind is running away somewhere, your emotion in a different direction, your body is doing its own thing, your energies, you don't know what's happening. In that condition, it won't work. Unless you put these 4 wheels together, only then you can drive this somewhere. If the 4 wheels of your car are facing in different directions, if you try to make a journey, it'll be torturous. Then what would you choose after some time? You will choose to live in a stationary car. It's very safe actually, really, believe me.
But does willingness or receptivity also come into this, or is there more to it? I mean, okay, everything's happening, the mind, the body, it's all, but there's something that still says in me, isn't there more I should be doing, or something else? Or something I'm not doing right?
You must have noticed that sometimes with some people I'm very gentle, with some very rough. Sometimes the point has to be made, people don't get it that simply. They're so wrapped up in their own conditioning of the mind. Whatever you say, whatever you do, they keep going back to their old patterns because the old patterns have such a power on their life. The very way they think, feel, understand and act and perceive life is determined by their old impressions. If you have to break that, sometimes you need a more forceful approach. It's gently forceful.
Sadhguru, how do likes and dislikes fit into this, and comfort?
Are you comfortable on the rock?
I am.
So it's not that yogis don't like comfort, they're extremely comfortable. They're absolutely comfortable, I'm absolutely comfortable within myself. So where I am, in what kind of physical situations I am, is not an issue for me. So this seeking of outside comfort, it doesn't matter what type of sofa you sit on, you can still be uncomfortable, isn't it? And it's ecologically expensive, terribly expensive. Human beings trying to be comfortable, they're just burning up the whole planet. If people were comfortable where they are, they would have only done what is needed. They wouldn't have done life in excess, isn't
But
it?
it's a comfort zone also that seems like it kicked out, you know, like just the box was
See,
small.
these are all terms coined by people who are never comfortable. They have formed a small niche or a cocoon of their own which they think they're comfortable in. I'm saying, if you're not comfortable in this universe, you don't have much place to stay, isn't it?
Very limited.
I'm asking this planet, right now your very body is a piece of this planet. Why are you not comfortable on this planet? You have to be in a particular room to be comfortable, you have to be in a particular space. That is a terrible limitation, isn't it? Nature has put sufficient limitations upon human beings. You don't have to invent new limitations. The moment you get trapped in, I like this, I don't like this, you're just dividing the world. The moment you fragment the world, your ability to experience it is gone. The moment I say, this rock is good, this rock is not good, my ability to experience what I think is not good is finished, isn't it? And my ability to experience what I think is good is also finished. See, if I think you are a good person, I will not see you the way you are, I will see you the way I like it. If I think you're a bad person, immediately I start seeing things which don't exist. If you think something is good, you lose contact with reality. If you think something is bad, you lose contact with reality. If you like something, you lose touch with reality. If you dislike something, you lose touch with reality. Only if you see everything the way it is, you're in touch with reality. And reality is the only doorway to the beyond. If you want to go somewhere, you can only start from where you are right now, isn't it?
This has been a shift since I've been here for me. I'll catch myself putting these labels on, I don't like this, I like this. And there's also something there now that says, why? Why are you labeling? It's fine. And it's a different experience than it was.
I'm not talking about being judgmental or non-judgmental, not those kind of things. All I'm saying is, the very basis of the trap for a human being is likes and dislikes. You like this, you don't like that, you're shutting off a huge part of the world for yourself. And then you wonder why you feel trapped. You have to feel trapped because you set up the trap. This is a self-made trap. Because the trap is an inside job, you need a little bit of outside help.
Sadhguru, it amazes me and everyone I know, including my doctors, that I got this well this quickly. In fact, every 6 months they're having me take these tests to see if this is really going to last. So, what is it? I'm in better shape than I was when I was 15 years younger. Is there some way to understand what this is and what it does?
So, your doctors are wondering whether this is a permanent fix? It is not. This will last only as long as you live.
Well, that'll be good enough. So what is it? Is there some way I can understand for myself how it works?
See, the human body, the understanding of human body in today's medical science is so outwardly. Nobody can cause health from outside, nor can you cause joy from outside, nor can you cause peace from outside. You may have external stimulants, but essentially it is happening from within. If you want to know this, first of all, we need to have some understanding of what this body is about. As there is a medical physiology, we have a whole yoga physiology. We can look at this body as 5 sheets or 5 layers of body. These 5 layers, we call them the physical body, the mental body, the energy body, the etheric body and the bliss body. So physical body is that which you can obviously see is an accumulation of the food that we have eaten. So the type of food that we have definitely has an impact on what type of body you gather. The next one is the mental body. When we say mind, we are not referring to any one particular part. Every cell in the body has its own intelligence. So there is a whole mental body. And these two are like, this is your hardware, that is your software. Your hardware and software are no good unless they're plugged into quality power. So the third layer of the body is the energy body. The first 3, the physical, the mental and the energy body, are physical in nature. They're just getting subtler, but they're still physical in nature. The fifth layer of the body, which is referred to as the bliss body, is totally non-physical. And the fourth, which is known as the etheric body, the nearest word, we call this Vijnanamaya Kosha, the nearest word or the common word that is used is etheric, it doesn't describe that. This means it's a transitory nature, from physical to non-physical. The fifth dimension is totally non-physical. Anything that is non-physical cannot be described or defined. You can define and describe only that which is physical. So, we are talking about the fifth layer of the body in terms of our experience. Whenever we are in touch with it, we feel blissful. So, we are referring to it as bliss. It is like if a child touches something and if it feels hot, he won't call this by its name, he says, that's hot. Just like that, due to lack of words to describe or because of the impossibility of describing a non-physical dimension, we are talking about it in terms of our experience. So we refer to it as bliss because whenever we are in touch with it, we become blissful. Now, to be in touch with this, being blissful by your own nature, if this has to happen, the first three dimensions, the physical, the mental and the energy body has to be properly aligned. If you align this, you find access to the deeper core of who you are. Apart from that, if you keep your energy body in full vibrance and in proper balance, there can be no ailment either in your physical or your mental bodies. All physiological and psychological ailments can be gotten rid of if you get your energy body to full reverberance and proper balance. When I say ailments, I am talking about only chronic ailments. Infectious diseases if you get, you have to go to the doctor and get it treated because infection is an invasion from outside. But the rest of the ailments are caused from within. Why is your own body causing an ailment for you? Because the whole body, every cell in the body is programmed to create health and well-being for you. Why is it working against you? It is working against you because something is skewed, something is out of balance. If you create the necessary balance and reverberance in the energy body, the physical and mental bodies get naturally fixed. That's exactly what's happened to you. I told you 3 months because I saw the depth of the damage that's happened, I said 3 months. For somebody else, I may 6 months. Someone else, I may say 2 years. For someone else, I may say 2 days, depending upon what is the level of damage that's happened to the system.
Sadhguru, what about stress? I feel like it's stress that really took a toll on my life, and in America, we're all trying to manage it. We're doing everything we can not to have it. We jog, we get massages, we exercise like crazy. If that doesn't work, half the people, 40% of the people, I think, are taking antidepressants. At least 40% of the people I know are admittedly taking antidepressants. So how does that play into?
First, when I came to the United States, wherever I went, I heard people talking about stress management. I couldn't get it because in my understanding, we only manage things which are precious to us, which are valuable to us. We manage our families, our money, our property, our businesses. We manage whatever is valuable for us. Why would anybody manage stress? It took me a while to understand that people have made a conclusion that stress is a part of their life. Stress is not a part of your life. It is not your lifestyle, it is not your work, it is not your family, it is not the situations in which you exist which is causing stress to you. It is your inability to manage your system, your lack of understanding of how this system functions, your inability to use the system the way it should be used, which is causing stress. People can be stressful in any kind of situation. It is not about this job or that job. It is not about this kind of situation or that kind of situation. People are capable of being stressful just for about anything. Now, we are not looking at how to manage stress. We are not looking at how to put it down, how to keep it under the surface. I am talking about how not to create it, because stress is your creation. If you do a simple process of yoga with full depth and dimension of what it is, not the physicality of it, as it is generally practiced today, especially in the West, but it's beginning to become a worldwide phenomena, that people are beginning to practice yoga just as a physical thing, or a mental thing. It is neither physical nor mental. It has got something to do with the core of your life. If all of you is not involved in the yoga that you do, if it is not being transmitted to you, it has just been taught to you, it is a bundle of instructions, not an initiation. If that is so, you are using yoga like you're using an airplane, like a car. Suppose I gave you an airplane, you don't know what it is, you knew only automobiles.
It'd stay on the ground.
So, these two things, these two ugly things are hitting your buildings and your lampposts, so you chopped off the wings and you drove around and you were happy. You are happy, your backache is gone, your thyroid problem is fixed. But I will cry because a man who knows what it means to fly, when he sees an airplane with chopped off wings, he will cry. So right now when I see the yoga that is going on all over in a large scale, it makes me feel like crying, but then the world would be flooded because too much of it is happening, so I laugh. So right now, this is not a solution. I want you to understand, yoga is not a solution for your stress. There is no need for stress. Yoga is removal of the problem, that you don't create stress, that's all. If you don't create stress, then why do you need a solution for it? Stress is your making. It is not the situation which is making stress, it is your making. So, if your experience of life, if you get little deeper access to the experience of life within you, you will distinctly know this and you will drop it. So that is the essence of Isha Yoga.
Sadhguru, a lot of the spiritual traditions talk about the moment of death as the most significant moment of your life. Is there something to that? Is that really true?
All those moments before that moment are very important.
Every moment?
All the moments before that moment in your life are most important. If you don't realize that, it is like people trying to catch the final moment of their life. You can't. Unless you have caught lot of moments in your life as a deep, penetrating experience for yourself, you just can't catch the final moment of your life. You try this and see. Tonight, when you go to bed and you want to sleep, just see if you can maintain an awareness of the final moment of transition from wakefulness to sleep. Do that and see. If you can manage that, phenomenal things will happen in your life, phenomenal things. Things that you never imagined possible will become a reality. If you can just manage a moment of awareness, that moment when you're transiting from wakefulness to sleep, if you do that, you will also transit from life to death in full awareness. Yes, it has many implications, many consequences. But this whole idea of death, as it has been spread around in the world today, let's look at it this way. Did you ever die?
No.
No, so you have no experience of it. Did you ever see a dead man?
No.
You've seen dead person? No, you might have seen dead bodies. Did you meet anyone who actually died and came back and told you, I had died like this?
I haven't.
No. There are people who have had near-death experience. Near is not good enough. I nearly ate, is it good enough?
Not at all.
So I nearly died is not good enough. I nearly lived, is it good enough?
No.
So, you haven't experienced it, you haven't seen it, nor have you had a first-hand information from anybody. So from where did you get this idea that there is something called as death? Death is a fiction. created by ignorant people. Death is the creation of people who live their lives in total unawareness. There is only life, life and life alone, moving from one dimension to another dimension to another. There are many dimensions to the life process. So once that it passes the dimension of being embodied in a physical frame, we generally consider that as death. You need to understand that the moment you're born, you have a death sentence upon you. When, where and how is the only question but you're on a death row. Your death is confirmed, isn't it?
Definitely.
We don't know whether you'll get educated or not. We don't know whether you'll get married or not. We don't know whether you'll know joy or not. We don't know whether you'll know misery or not. But we know one day you will die. That one thing is guaranteed.
We don't like it though.
You don't like it because you have wrong ideas about it. There's a beautiful story in the yogic law. It is part of the Indian tradition that when someone builds a new dwelling or a house, they invite a sage or a yogi to come and bless the house. Because it's a new space, they want it to have a certain, positive spiritual reverberance. So they always invite a sage. Yogis are invited to new homes. So they invited a yogi. A certain rich family built a beautiful house, they invited the yogi. They welcomed him wonderfully, they treated him like a king, they served him food. Then, time to leave, then both the husband and wife came and asked for a blessing. Then the yogi said, first let your parents die, then you die, then let your children die. The man freaked out. He said, you fool, we treated you like a king, and now you say, first my father should die, then I should die, then my children should die. What is this nonsense? The yogi was surprised. What did I say wrong? Would it be good if you died before your father? Or would it be good if your children die before you?
Terrible.
There is nothing wrong with death. It has to happen. Only because there is death, there is life. It is just that we are only concerned that it doesn't happen in an untimely manner, that we don't want our children to die before us. If we want it to happen in a proper order of life. If it happens in a proper order, it is beautiful, that means your life has gone well. Now this whole fear about death is simply because you have no idea about what it is. You have formed ideas about everything, just about everything. But no matter what ideas you formed about life, when you're confronted with the moment of death, you really don't know anything. That's one space of life which has remained uncorrupted by human mind. Everything else we have corrupted, isn't it? Whatever was supposed to be sacred, all these things are hugely corrupted by human mind. Human minds have corrupted love, relationships, God, divinity, everything. They have corrupted it and twisted it out whichever way they want. Death is one thing that they're still clueless about. Though a lot of people would like to talk authoritatively about it, they know they're going to go to heaven, they're dead sure about it. If they're so sure, I don't see what they're waiting for.
No, they're trying not to go very soon.
They're doing everything not to go to heaven. Why? If you're so sure you're going to a wonderful place, better place than this, you must hurry up. Because you're not sure. You talk, but you're not sure 100% where you will go, what will happen to you. Just to solace yourself, just to psychologically be able to handle life, you create all these things. But essentially, the very idea of death has come to you because people have been talking about it without knowing about it. Otherwise, if your societies did not speak about it, you would just know your present existence, the way you are right now is not permanent. That you would know, but you wouldn't have any other ideas about it. Even now you don't have, you imagine that you have.
But there's so much attachment to this. My father's 89, he's telling me, he wants to live the next day and the next day, just one more sunset, one more sunset. He said, You know, I lived a full life, it just came so quick. I just don't want it to end yet, you know? So it's, you don't want to have that thing we don't know happen. This we know.
See, that's because your whole life, you're only living in your mind, not in this world. You're only thinking about life, you're not experiencing life. Just look back and see, in the last 24 hours, how many moments have you truly experienced the way they are? You're only thinking about it. So, you are a psychological existence, you are not an existential existence. Whatever happens in your mind is irrelevant because you can make anything happen. You can imagine anything and think it is true. What happens in your mind, what you think and feel has nothing to do with the reality of life. But right now, humanity has invested so much towards what they think and feel. They've made it so important, obviously they will miss life. What this essentially means is, your own petty creation that you create in your mind has become so important for you that you are missing the magnificent creation of the Creator. You missed it all. Now at 89 you want to watch a sunset, nothing wrong, at least now you're aware of it, I'm glad. But why did you miss it for so many years? Because you're too busy with your own petty creation in your mind, isn't it? This body is just a piece of this earth. It has popped up from this earth and it'll go back to this earth. Right now you're sitting here, before you and me came here on this planet, countless number of people have walked this planet, isn't it? Where are they? All topsoil. This one will also be topsoil unless someone buries you real deep, fearing that you may rise from the dead. So, this body right now is a debt that you have taken from the planet, it's a loan from the planet. Let's say I give you $1 million loan today. I won't, I'm just telling you.
Why not?
And in 10 years' time, you made this 1 million into 100 million. And after 10 years, if I come looking for you, what would you do with me?
I'd give you $1 million back.
You would welcome me, you would welcome me. I'm your dear friend, isn't it?
Yes.
You would welcome me gladly and give back my million and maybe give me an extra million and send me. Suppose I gave you 1 million today and in 10 years' time you squandered it completely and you lost everything. And if I come looking for you, what do?
I'd
Terror.
hope you die first.
Terror. When a debtor comes, it's worse than death for most people, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is just the same. This is a loan from the planet. If you have done something truly wonderful out of it, when the moment to pay back the loan comes, you would give it back joyfully. If you have done something truly significant and wonderful things out of it. Otherwise, when the moment to pay back the loan comes, you will shiver in your pants. So, how you die in many ways indicative of how you have lived within yourself. It's in that context they might have said the significance of the last moment. And the last moment is significant because if you can maintain awareness at that moment, the quality of that moment endures beyond that. You can try this with your sleep. Tonight when you go to sleep, create a very loving atmosphere within yourself. Really be conscious and loving and fall asleep that way with a big smile on your face. You will see that quality will perpetuate through the night. When you wake up in the morning, you will see that quality radiating out of you. So, Eastern cultures have always made this happen, that you must sleep in a particular way, you must wake up in a particular way. For all this, they've fixed particular methods as to how to do it. Yoga and spiritual processes have specific ways of how to go to bed, how to wake up in the morning. This is why. Because it will perpetuate through. When that moment of transition is of a certain quality, naturally that quality endures. So when that moment of death is of a certain level of awareness or pleasantness, naturally that pleasantness and awareness will endure. Because when you're here in this embodied form, when you are here with this body and this conscious intellect, you have a discriminatory mind. Right now, whatever is offered to you, you can choose. But once you have left your body and your discriminatory mind, after that you don't have choices, you only move by tendencies. Whatever your tendency is, accordingly you will move.
So are you saying we're less conscious when we drop our body? See, there's always been this, harboring this hope that…
It is not about being conscious or not conscious.
You know something
You
when
have
you dropped
lost your
body.
discriminatory intellect. Now that there's a discriminatory intellect, if I give you a mud ball and an apple, you can look at this and eat the apple, not the mud ball. But once you don't have a discriminatory intellect, you go according to your tendencies. Even right now, so many people on this planet are causing misery to themselves, not because they want to, they're going by their tendencies, they have become compulsive. Compulsiveness simply means that you're not exercising your discriminatory intellect, you're not aware enough to do that. That is true even now for most people. If people were exercising their discriminatory capabilities, if they were aware enough to do that, would you choose misery or joy?
Never. Never choose misery. Always
You would
choose
never
joy.
choose misery, isn't it? Nobody would be miserable on the planet then, if they exercise the discriminatory quality of their intellect. So that final moment, if you create a certain tendency of pleasantness, then beyond, what is beyond the body, that transition will be very pleasant. It's based on this, when a person is dying, when a person is near death, generally in almost every culture this awareness is there to some extent, that at that time, that's not the time for anger, that's not the time for, remorse, that's not the time for hatred. All those things you drop and do the best that you can do to create a pleasant atmosphere around him. It once happened, there were two sisters who had a feud between them. And they had not spoken to each other for 35 years. So, this is Matilda and Lucia. Matilda, at the age of 87, was about to die. She was on her deathbed. Then Lucia came to see her. Matilda looked at her and said, "Okay, I'm going to die. So if I die, all that I hold against you is forgiven. But just in case if I make it, it's all the way… just the way it was." Everything is just the way it was. You better know that. So we waste life and try to make use of death, you cannot do that. If you maintain a certain level of awareness right through your life, the moment of passing also can happen in your awareness. You live a life of unawareness and you expect that moment to be aware. Such things don't happen to people.
Sadhguru, is there such a thing as immortality?
See, the very idea of life being what it is has come to you only because of the mortal nature of what it is right now. The spiritual process for a human being always begins only when he thinks about death, not when he thinks about God. When he thinks about God, he only thinks of living better, having more things, having a better life, having an easy ride. But the moment he starts contemplating on his mortal nature, that's when he begins to think, what is this all about?
It's true for me.
What is before this? What is beyond this? So, mortality or mortal nature of life is not a curse, it's a blessing. What we need to understand is, what you call as my body is something that you have gathered. What is the big deal about giving it back? You're making it such a big deal because you are so identified with things that you're gathered. You become that. In your experience of life, you've become the things that you have gathered. Because you have become that which you have gathered, this is the essence of ignorance. This is the essence of pain, this is the essence of misery, this is the essence of suffering, that you believe yourself to be something that you are not. This is the essence of chattering mind. People come and ask me again and again, Sadhguru, I try to meditate, my mind is going all over the place. The moment you identify yourself with something that you're not, your mind will not stop for a moment. You do what you want. The only way to stop it is either shoot you in the head or you come to an awareness as to what is you and what is not you. If you come to that, mind will become utterly still. If I sit here for 5 days, I will sit here without a single thought. That may sound dumb to you, but no, because life, the phenomena of life is far bigger than thought. What can you think? The creation is so big. Life is such a absolutely unfathomable phenomena, but now you're engrossed in your own thought because you're identified with things that you're not and you're helplessly trapped in thought. Because you're trapped in thought, now you have to glorify that, otherwise you'll feel like a fool. Right now, the thought process, humanity has paid such importance to thought process to a point where somebody went to the extent of saying, I exist because I think. It's not so. You can think because you do exist. Your existence is first, but that's been completely missed. Because the experience of your existence has been missed, whatever you have gathered in the form of body and mind has become so important. Now dropping it has become such a big problem. Once you're existentially here, that is, your experience of life is beyond the limitations of what you have gathered, that is, beyond the limitations of your physical body and your thought process and mind, then living and dying are not two different phenomena. They're the same. Every moment, you can say right now I'm living, or you can say I'm dying, because you're actually dying. One day the process will be complete, but you're actually dying. You may do many things in your life, you may do them or you may not do them. This is one thing you will do. You need to understand, from your birth till the last moment, you are walking in a straight line, straight towards death. You may look this way at the mountains, you may look that way at the lake, you may look at relationships, you may fall in love, you may suffer, you may enjoy, but essentially every moment of your life, you're walking straight towards your grave. So that is the most inevitable thing. And that's the only thing which enhances the quality of your life. I am not saying you must choose to die. Death does not need your assistance. Because whenever death happens, it happens with absolute efficiency. Death is always super efficient. It's only life which needs our assistance. It is only life that can be enhanced constantly. So your focus is on life, but unless you embrace death, you cannot live. If you try to avoid death, all that will happen to you is, you will end up avoiding life. If you are every moment afraid, what will happen to me, or will I die, you will only avoid life. You will not avoid death. Because what you call as death is just a transition of life, which has to happen. So immortality is a very immature idea. Unless you go beyond the physicality of life, everything that is not physical is always immortal. It is only the physicality which is mortal. So if your experience of life right now transcends the limitations of the physical, you're already immortal. I'm immortal because I don't exist. I am immortal because I am not identified with my physical body. I enjoy my body, I use my body, but I'm constantly aware that it is only an accumulation. Any day I have to drop it. So this is immortality. In awareness, you're immortal. Only in unawareness, you are mortal.
Sadhguru, there's so many choices that we have about our life. More choices I'm seeing, the more aware I get. Can it also get to a point where we have choices about our death, how we die, or is there any way that we have some kind of choice?
We need to understand this. Everything that you can experience is life. What you call as death also is life. So if there are choices about death, they're definitely… what you're referring to as death is just the last moment of life. So that final moment when you transcend the limitations of your physical body, that happens only once in your lifetime. Almost everything in your life may happen many times over, but this one thing happens only once in your lifetime. And it's the last thing that you do. The last thing that you do in your life is death. So I want you to understand death as life, not something else. So this is the last act of your life. Is it not important that you choose to make it happen gracefully and wonderfully? Is it not very important?
Very important.
If you are fearful of it, if you're ignorant of the ways of life and you create resistance towards it, naturally you will miss that possibility. Spiritual process. People on the spiritual path choose the time, date and place of their death. The yogi always wants to know the time and date of his death ahead of time. He fixes it many years ahead. He says, on this day, at this time, I will leave. And he leaves because he has created the necessary awareness within himself to live consciously. Leaving this body consciously, without damaging this body, like you take off your clothes and walk away, like that you take off your body and walk away. If you can do that, that is the ultimate possibility in your life. Once you have gained this much awareness to know where you as a being and this physical body which you gathered, where it's connected, where is the connection, what is the hold? Once you know this, if your awareness has grown to such a point, then you can disentangle yourself whenever the moment is right for you. So is this suicide? Definitely not. Suicide happens out of frustration, out of anger, out of fear, out of inability to bear with suffering. This is neither suicide nor euthanasia. This is about being so aware that when the life has completed its complete cycle, you know that it has completed that and you walk out of it. You walk out of this. And this is not death either. This is known as samadhi, where a human being has developed sufficient awareness within himself where he can separate himself from the physicality that he has gathered and as to who he is. So in that level of awareness, one can live. If such a level of awareness, if you do not attain, at least you can make that last moment very graceful, pleasant and joyful and blissful for yourself, if you manage certain things. So when we say a spiritual process, we are not just helping people to live well. I also help people to die well. Helping people to die well does not mean we will assist them to die as euthanasia enthusiasts are talking about. Not in that sense. Helping people to die means that moment of passing from physicality to beyond, from being embodied to being disembodied, it is very important it has to happen in utmost awareness and grace. So we can create that moment for every human being, if that human being is willing to cooperate and willing to pay some attention to himself now. So if one wants to exercise this choice, certain amount of preparation is needed. As I said earlier, if you can manage this, if you can every day practice this, that you move from your wakefulness to sleep in awareness, if you manage that, this last moment of passing from life to death will happen absolutely gracefully for you. There are other methods also. In India, always people choose, traditionally people choose not to die with their loved ones. Because if you die among your family, so many emotions will come, naturally you'll try to cling to life. You will not allow it to happen gracefully. So people travel to faraway places which are considered spiritually vibrant and they want to shed their body in that space. This has been traditionally so. Even today, thousands of people still do this. This may be completely unthinkable in the West because they want to die in the comfort of their family. That is not a wise thing. It is truly wise for a person to choose a space which is spiritually conducive, which is vibrant in a certain way, and he lives there with as much grace as possible. If you lived your life with grace, it becomes extremely important that you die with grace.
Sadhguru, I really want to leave by my choice. Is this in the realm of possibility for somebody like me who comes here so identified? Is it still?
It definitely is for you. Definitely is for you.
कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि।